You're listening to the new WCEG Network on WCEGTalkRadio.com. Click live stream or watch us live on your smart television. YouTube, WCEG Network. I am Damita Chatman, your host for the next hour, where we speak life in digital community. We're an empowerment group. Let us like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and on Instagram at WCEG_talk_radio at WCEG. Last but least, the disclaimer. The topics and opinions are those of the show hosts and guests and not WCEG Network. Thank you for your continued support. Good afternoon, judges. Good afternoon. I said this morning that I think we got the finest judges in the world and the greatest solicitors. So again, I want to thank you. I'm going to start with, since I know Judge Kirk, I'm going to start with Miss Judge Emmons and Adams. I'm going to let her introduce herself and for a few minutes, and then we'll go on down the line. Thank you.
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me today, Ms. Chatman. Excited about the conversation and certainly happy to see colleagues that I ordinarily would see, but obviously during the pandemic have not had the opportunity to see and interact with quite as much. My name is Kimberly Adams, and I am honored to serve as a judge on the Superior Court of Fulton County. I am in my fourth term on the bench. I was elected in 2008 and began my service in 2009. This is year 14 for me on the bench. I came to the bench from the Fulton District Attorney's Office, where I worked for almost 6 years. And prior to that, I worked in a labor and employment defense firm. I am a proud Howard University graduate. I attended Notre Dame Law School. I am a resident of South Fulton with my husband and my adult son, who now lives in a different county, but he is still here in the state of Georgia. And I guess I would just conclude by saying that it's been an honor and a privilege to serve. Being a judge was a childhood dream of mine. And so I feel truly blessed to be able to walk in my calling.
Oh, thank you. I'm going to go with Judge Kirk now.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's wonderful to join colleagues as well. And so I am Cassandra Kirk. I am the first ever elected Chief Magistrate Judge here for Fulton County. I was initially appointed by Governor Deal and have served in this role since 2014. We are coming up on my second election, and so it would be my third term. I am thankful again, as Judge Adams has said, to be able to serve. I come to the bench with over 27 years of legal experience. I've been a judge, I've been a prosecutor, a defense attorney, a civil litigator, as well as an administrative director. And my whole passion and input for the court is to make sure that our magistrate court is a court that informs, engages, and empowers our community. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. I'm going to go with Judge Dunaway now. Dunaway, thank you.
Good afternoon, all. Thank you for having me. I'm Judge Eric Dunaway, born and raised right here in Atlanta. Grew up in Atlanta in South Fulton County before it was the city of South Fulton. I'm proud first graduate, the original graduates, we call ourselves the OGs of Westlake High School. From Westlake, I went on to graduate from Morehouse College. And then I spent 3 years in Macon at Mercer Law School, came right back home to start practicing law with the city of Atlanta. I spent over 20 years as a criminal prosecutor, city of Atlanta, Fulton County District Attorney's Office, and I concluded my prosecutorial career as the Deputy Chief of the Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault Division for the DeKalb County District Attorney's Office. Ran for election in 2016. I was fortunate enough to get the approval of the citizens and the voters. Began serving in this capacity in January of 2017, and I'm really enjoying it, really enjoying the service, interacting with people and lawyers. It is a great position to be in, and I hope to be here for years to come, serving my community, the community that put so much into me over the years. It's such a great thing to give back to that community. So thank you for having me today. I look forward to the conversation, and it is great to see all of my colleagues.
Thank you. I'm gonna go to Judge Farmer now.
Good afternoon, all. My name's Judge Kevin Farmer. I went to law school with Judge Dunaway. We both graduated from Mercer in 1996. And he's just two courtrooms down from me. And we have Judge Adams between us right now. You got half the fourth floor right here. I moved down here in 1982. Lived in Sandy Springs, went to Riverwood High School, went back to University of Wisconsin for college, and then Mercer for law school. I began my career as a Fulton County public defender and did that for 3-4 years before going into private practice and doing domestic relations work and small business litigation. I returned to public defending because the criminal really called to me. And then the 3 years before I was fortunate enough to run for judge in 2018, I served as a district attorney and assistant district attorney down in Clayton County, where I got to learn the other side of the criminal arena. So I think it puts me in a unique position to look at public defenders, defense attorneys, and DAs when they come before me and make sure that they get the ball rolling and they keep things moving in the right direction. It is a dream and an honor of mine that the citizens have allowed me the privilege to serve as judge. I consider myself one of the luckiest people around. I got my dream job. I don't have to go to work in the morning. I get to go to work in the morning. And it's a calling that I hope I'm able to continue on for several more years. I am running this year, but nobody signed up to run against me, so I will be unopposed come May. So thank you very much. I look forward to the conversation.
Thank you, Judge Farmer. Now we finna go to what I say the baddest solicitor on this side of Mississippi. Come on, solicitor.
Well, Ms. Chatman, I'm going to accept that, and I say thank you so much, and I want to thank you for warmly welcoming my colleagues and I to be heard by your wonderful audience. My name is Keith E. Gammage. I'm honored and really humbled every day that I get to serve the citizens of my hometown, my community, my county. And I'm a dad, a husband, a son, and a community member who really, really strives from the seat I'm in as solicitor to bring about restoration, healing, and protection across our community, and hopefully even be an influence to others similarly situated as we look at our motto or our mantra behind us, smart, fair, and restorative justice. I was elected in 2016 by the citizens of Fulton County. And since that time, we've been working to improve with other stakeholders the justice that we deliver every single day in every section of our community. And I'd love to have the opportunity to further talk about that and share some of what we're doing. And I also want to just, in my moment here, salute my friends and colleagues here who every day are working within our system, giving their very best. And we don't always get the applause and the acknowledgement that we need and that we deserve and have earned. And so, Ms. Chatman, thank you for this opportunity to speak with your audience.
No problem. I'm going to go with Judge Adams. Could you tell us what Superior Court, what is the responsibilities of the Superior Court? I think you're on mute.
I'm sorry. I said I'm happy to do that, but I think one of your guests still needs to be introduced. Yes.
Since Judge Miller has come in, you want to introduce yourself, Judge Miller?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much, Ms. Chatman, for having us here. Colleagues, it's a pleasure to see you and serve with you. My name is Shalanda Miller, and I'm a Fulton County Juvenile Court judge, and I've had the honor to serve our families and children in this capacity for the last 2 years. Prior to this, I was a deputy litigation chief over in the city of Atlanta, have served in Fulton County Attorney's Office, as well as the Clayton County Attorney's Office. Judge Farmer, I'm sure we bumped into each other down in Clayton County, but I didn't spend a lot of time in the courtroom down there. I've also served as a private practice as a civil litigation attorney, and am glad to be able to bring all the skills that I've gathered over the course of my career to serve our children and families on the juvenile court. Thank you for allowing me to be here, Ms. Chatman.
Thank you, and I apologize. I didn't see your picture up there. And we got another guest coming, but she's not in yet. Okay, go back to Judge Adams. Thank you, Judge Adams.
You're very welcome. So as for your question, I think it's important for your viewers and listeners to know that the Fulton Superior Court is one of several superior courts around the state, but we are unique in that we are the largest and busiest trial court, and we sit in the seat of state government. Superior courts have jurisdiction over all types of cases. We hear all kinds of civil cases, car accidents, product liability cases, premises liability cases. And in many instances, our jurisdiction is concurrent with state courts. However, there are areas where superior courts of Georgia have exclusive jurisdiction. And those areas include disputes that involve real property or land, disputes involving domestic relations, which would be divorce and child custody cases, matters where the parties are seeking what is known as equitable or non-monetary relief, in the way perhaps of an injunction to stop someone from doing something they believe they should not be doing, or what is less known, but is called a mandamus, which compels a government actor to do something that the litigant believes they should be doing according to the law. And then the last area of cases that most people know about, obviously, are felony criminal cases. And the difference with the two types of criminal cases, and Solicitor General Gammage will probably address this later, is that in superior courts, we're looking at cases where the penalty range is more than or at least a year in prison, but it can be up to and including life and or death. So we deal with homicide cases, armed robberies, aggravated assault, rape cases, different types of sex offenses. And our jurisdiction beyond that involves all civil matters where the state of Georgia is a party. And so if the state of Georgia is sued, the only court that can hear those cases is our court. Likewise, if any of the state agencies are involved in any type of litigation, folks are claiming, they contend that they were wrongfully denied unemployment benefits or a license or permit to do something that they believe they should be authorized to do. All of those cases are heard in our court. And so while there are other superior courts in the state of Georgia, I think it's very important to point out that we have jurisdiction over matters that no other superior court in the state of Georgia does. We are twice the size of the next largest court jurisdiction. There are 20 judges who serve on the Fulton Superior Court. There are 10 in, I know DeKalb, a couple of the other jurisdictions may be catching up, but we are essentially, again, twice as large. So that's a general view of what we do in the superior courts. We have plenty to keep us busy, and the number of filings never leaves any of us wanting work.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna go with Judge Dunaway. Tell me, how often do you get cases where they kind of lag a long time in your superior court?
I don't know that we get cases that lag. I wouldn't say that any of the cases lag. I know that all of my colleagues, myself, we put them on a calendar. We use scheduling orders to make sure that they are dates certain for things to be done, discovery to be served, offers to be made, cases to be mediated. So, up until the, March 13, 2020, cases were on a schedule and moving forward at a pace. Of course, we hit the pandemic like the pandemic hit the rest of the world. And so things didn't move as we wanted them to move. But I will tell you, we were very quick on instituting Zoom and getting virtual hearings going, making sure the civil cases were calendared and we were handling cases virtually, civilly. I remember sitting at home and setting up my home office to handle criminal arraignments and bond hearings. The district attorney's office did a great job of moving the indicted cases along. So I don't know if that cases lag, at least not in Fulton Superior Court or with any of my colleagues. I believe that we get them on a calendar, we get lawyers in the court, and make sure that the cases are heard in a timely manner.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. I'm gonna go with Judge Miller, and you said you deal with the juvenile cases. What we see typically is, I call it the revolving door. So could you explain what you do down there to stop the revolving door, or just explain to the audience?
Well, and I think an important note about juvenile court, and I don't know that it's always recognized or realized, is juvenile court is meant to be rehabilitative. So it is designed to provide young people and families resources, community resources, whether that's therapy, educational resources, job training, so that young people can become contributing members of our society. So juvenile court that is our first goal, is to rehabilitate our young people so that they can contribute. And then in the case of our dependency matters, to give families and parents resources so that families can stay together. And so I know oftentimes people get frustrated with juvenile court because it seems like it is a revolving door. And there are children who commit multiple acts, and that cannot be denied. But I think what goes unseen are the young people who take advantage of the resources that are provided by the court and find themselves in a better position than they came into the court with. And so I would ask our community to, as we are seeing young folks who are recommitting offenses, that we try to remember that what we're doing in juvenile court is meant to help them. And it takes a community, and we work with all sorts of partners out in our communities to try to prevent that from happening, and to give our kids skills so that they don't have to be committing some of these same bad acts over and over again.
Okay. Let me ask you about this with the point system. So just say if I do something under the juvenile court, how does that point system work?
Well, and so I don't know what people, so there are different things that people see as a point system. And we have assessments, and these are data-based assessments that allow us to determine risk. Are our children likely to reharm in the community? And so there are values given to different bad acts. There are values given to whether or not a child has a tendency not to appear for court. So there are all sorts of values that go into those risk factors. And we use those factors to determine how restrictive custody might be for a young person. So if you have a young person who has low risk factors, they've got lots of community resources, resources in the home, and the acts that they've committed are nonviolent. Those things tend to allow for a young person to have less restrictive release, versus if you have someone on the other end of things, they are constantly reoffending, and the offenses are escalating, the bad acts are escalating into something that might cause harm or hurt to the community or to themselves. Those young people are likely to have more restrictive detention measures. So I think that's what folks mean when they talk about the point system, but those are things to help us as judges evaluate risk in our communities. And where they're low risk, we want our young people to be able to be active in the community so that they can contribute, they can get the resources that they need so that they're not recidivating, not committing more bad acts. We all know that if they can get that support, it's less likely for them to end up back in the system and later in life over in Superior Court with my colleagues. So we're actively trying to keep them out of those positions. And so we do require our community to jump in and help as we try to rehabilitate these young folks.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm going to go to the solicitor for a minute. You had a program, I think it was to expunge a criminal law. Could you tell us a little bit about that program and how effective it has been in the community?
Thank you for asking, and what a great conversation this is. Back in 2017, within my first couple of months in office, we put in place an expungement or record restriction unit, and have, in working with other stakeholders, judges and other folks from within the system. Over the last 5 years, we have restricted and cleaned, if you will, just a bit above 5,000 criminal records. And I would add this, Ms. Chatman, it saved millions of dollars because each of those records represents someone who now may have a better opportunity at the American dream, and by extension, their family members as well. It represents hope renewed in people. And it also represents, I think, good government working for people, reaching over to uplift. And we can only do it with the help of our stakeholders, the judges within our county and our system. And I might add this, when we started doing this in 2017, we started in an area I grew up in, which is between East Point and Southwest Atlanta. And we had an early event, both at Ebenezer Baptist Church, led by Pastor Warnock, and then as sort of a building block from that, we went to Greenbrier Mall, and then we went to Metropolitan Parkway, and then we went up to Buckhead to the Temple. And then throughout our county, we've been hosting those events, totaling now 15. There'll be another one on April 2nd of this year called our Spring Clean event. We've got about 100 people registered now. They'll get a second chance at success. And I think two things to note as well with regard to that particular program, and thank you for highlighting it, is that we partner with the Chamber of Commerce, we partner with the Atlanta North Georgia Labor Council and other employers. And we've actually had folks come in with a criminal record and walk out with a clean slate. In addition, walk out having applied for and in some instances received a job. And I would add lastly, this other component of it. Those folks who think it's the wrong thing should know that all statistics and studies reveal that that you actually reduce recidivism by helping someone become gainfully employed, removing the barriers that lead to mass incarceration, and allowing people really who want to pursue and improve life the opportunity to do so. I'm so glad you asked about that.
Thank you. Now, I have a question that was just text to me. What in your program, and you have people that went through your program, but yet their name is still on that list? What do you do about that?
Thank you for asking. We've still got a ways to go in expanding the criteria for second chances. As of last year, now, believe it or not, even folks with a nonviolent conviction can have their records in some instances restricted. But that is the official record. There's still a way that we need to go, making certain that we can remove all of those histories. Sometimes there's information out on the internet that's outside of law enforcement and court control. So hopefully we'll have some positive legislation soon that will address that. But I should say this, we also partner with the Georgia Justice Project. I would suggest that your listener who posed that question, they can email, make contact with my office at FultonRestorativeJustice.org, FultonRestorativeJustice.org. They can pose that question, and then we can try and direct them to another resource, whether it's the Georgia Justice Project, who might seek a pardon on their behalf, or some other means to assist them through the court system. It's a great question.
If you don't mind, you can put that in your chat. I'm going to go with Judge Kirk over there to Magistrate Court. Tell me, what do you do over there? Kind of cases you hear over in your court system over there?
So thank you very much for that question. I want to explain that the Magistrate Court is a limited jurisdiction court. Unlike Superior Court, we have very limited jurisdiction on what it is we can do. While we do have civil as well as criminal jurisdiction, on the civil side, that's kind of where our bread and butter is. That's what we do to adjudication, and I'll break that down in just a bit. On the criminal side, really what we do is triage. So we handle search and arrest warrants 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and then we do first appearance 6 days a week. From being arrested, you go to first appearance, and then those cases are identified to go either to state court or to Superior Court, and that's the end of our handling there. On the civil side, I mentioned the majority of what we do is our civil cases, landlord tenant, small claims less than 15,000, garnishment, warrant applications. Those are the types of cases that we handle on the civil side.
Thank you. Do you handle HOA also, right?
So no, we do landlord tenant. HOA is going to go to Superior Court.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to go to Judge Farmers. And I found my question, so that's why my screen, maybe you can see me, but I can't see all you guys. Tell me, how can you reduce the time of law enforcement must be spent in court so that we can be patrolling or investigating?
I think the first way we do that is, the pandemic has shown that Zoom actually works. And, Judge Kirk, they do a lot of warrant applications, as do Superior Court judges. As Superior Court judges, we take a week at a time presiding, which means we handle any kind of walk-ins if an officer or detective has a case that's ongoing and they need a warrant right now. To reduce their time coming into the courtroom, that's a lot more on the prosecutor's side. And you try and arrange, when they need those folks to come in as witnesses, you try and get a scheduling conference with both sides and say, when, what order are you going to call your witnesses in? Can we get the detective or the officer in and out first or last? Ultimately, though, the decision is on the prosecutor as to what order they want to call their witnesses in. And that's obviously on the criminal side. Right now, I think Judge Adams did a very good job of giving an overview of Superior Court and the fact that we handle domestic relations. And we have 4 judges, including myself, who are dedicated to just only doing that. So right now, I'm not hearing any criminal cases. I know Judge Dunaway and Judge Adams, I've seen them having trials. And we've been trying to use alternative methods to space people out. I know Judge Adams had to park some witnesses in my courtroom because we're using the gallery where normally the public sits as a jury box, so they don't have to sit real close together. So we're trying to work together, I think, as a bench and with my immediate neighbors on the 4th floor to try and make the flow of a trial go as smoothly as possible. I'm willing to work with them, and as I'm sure they're willing to work with me to try and get them in and out. Not just the officers, but any witnesses. We try and be respectful of people's time. And coming downtown it takes time, effort, and $16 to park it at Underground if you want to go that way. We try and do a lot by Zoom as much as we can. And I think that the pandemic has shown that there are things that can be done via Zoom, even going forward when the courthouse opens up fully again. Status conferences, calendar calls, a lot of things that don't need to take up people's time physically being in the courtroom. We're cognizant of that. So I hope that answered your question.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna go to Judge Dunaway. What is your philosophy on the court system?
My philosophy on the court system, there's a lot that goes into the court system. First of all, it has to be open to everyone. Everyone has to be able to come in and have their day in court. We do not run a court system for one part of the county or the other part of the county. We have to run a court system for everyone. And then everyone has to have an opportunity to be heard. What I tell people is the worst you're going to get from me is a fair hearing or a fair trial. You might not get the result you're looking for, but you will get the opportunity to be heard. And I listen. And I think our court system, and all the justice partners have to listen. When someone comes in and they speak or they file something, you have to read it. You have to listen to their argument and then make a decision based on the law. So I would see that as my philosophy of the court system. It has to be open to everyone, and everyone has to have a fair opportunity, and they have to be heard.
All right, thank you. I'm going to go down. I'm going to start with, I don't see your picture. I'm going to start with Judge Miller. Who were your role model coming up?
So that's a tough one because I had lots of them. And it started, with my family members, right? I have My mom and my dad were the first community servants I knew, and activists, the first folks actively out there recruiting, making sure that people were registered to vote, feeding the homeless. So they are heroes in the sense that they instilled in me the values of community service, of collective responsibility for our neighbors, getting involved and actively engaged in our legal and political systems. So they're my first heroes, absolutely. But then from a judicial perspective, I remember watching Eyes on the Prize and learning about those civil rights activists and lawyers who used our justice system to make a better society. And, we still have work to do, but that was phenomenal to me. And so there are folks out of that movement that are heroes to me. And then, current modern day heroes, folks that are just working to move us forward every day. Folks like the people we have here. Judge Kirk has done magnificent, wonderful things with the magistrate court. And you heard Judge Dunaway talk about making sure people have the opportunity to be heard. Those are heroics. Those are everyday heroics that often get overlooked and underappreciated, because those are the things that build trust in the system. Those are the things that make folks feel like it is an all-inclusive system, that they can get a fair hearing. And so, folks like the folks here today who are doing the work every day to move us forward and make sure that everyone has a voice, are also my heroes.
Thank you. I'm gonna go to Judge Kirk, and what I'm gonna narrow that down. Who were your judicial role models? Judge Kirk.
So very much like Judge Miller, judicial role models came to me so much later in life. My parents are teachers, and that's who I knew. My community was surrounded with teachers. So I didn't know many judges or lawyers until I got to the point that I was in law school. And so for me, my judicial role models are going to be Judge Isaac Jeanneret. You all may know. I remember seeing Judge Jeanneret when I was on the bench. When I was a assistant district attorney. So Judge Jeanneret. I remember also when I was down in Newton County, Judge Ott. He wasn't the friendliest man, but he always hit the bench knowing exactly what the law was. And he knew exactly what he wanted the ADAs and the district attorneys, as well as the public defenders to be doing. So I love the way that Judge Ott handled court, the way that Judge Jeanneret handled people, as well as managed his court docket. So those are a few. And then I always have to shout out Judge Belinda Edwards, who appointed me as a juvenile court judge, who in 2010 gave me the chance to first be a judge. And so I always have to say that she is my role model on the bench.
Thank you. I'm gonna go to Judge Adams now.
So thank you for that question. It gives us a wonderful opportunity, I think, to express gratitude to folks who have invested in us along the journey. I'll start with my predecessor, and that is Judge Thelma White Cummins Moore. I was very fortunate to meet Judge Moore when I was in high school. We were members of the same church. I was able to see her first in a community role serving as a leader in our church. And from there, that was obviously long before I went to law school, I was able to watch her career. I knew when she was serving in municipal court, when she was elevated to the state court, when she was elevated again to Superior Court, when she was nominated to be recognized at the United States Supreme Court because of her judicial leadership and scholarship. And because of Judge Moore, I was given a unique opportunity to run to succeed her when she decided that she was going to retire after 30 distinguished years of judicial service. She reached out to me to let me know that and to say to me, it's time for you to get ready to run. That was earlier than I intended to run, because at that point in my career, I wasn't quite ready to make that leap. But it just shows you that there are times that people see things in you that you may not see in yourself. And so I will always be grateful for the mentorship, for the friendship, for the example and role model that Judge Thelma White Cummins Moore has been to me. I also had the unique opportunity to meet a judge very early in my life. My mother worked as a probation officer when we lived in Nashville, Tennessee, before we moved to Georgia when I was in high school. And that judge at the time served on a municipal court. I had the opportunity on occasion when we would get out of school early to go to the courthouse to observe Judge Adolfo Birch. Some people may know who he is. He actually ended up ascending to be the Chief Justice of the Tennessee Supreme Court. And my full circle moment was when I went to law school. I had an opportunity to go back to Nashville and actually do a summer clerkship with Justice Birch. At that time, he was the chief of the Tennessee Supreme Court. So that was really an exciting opportunity. But I had an opportunity to watch him interact with everyday folks, right? So not the kinds of cases that we deal with in Superior Court, but people who've been involved in other types of situations that are not as serious, and to watch the humanity that he displayed to all of the individuals who came before him. So those two judges, I think, have been instrumental to me in shaping not just my judicial philosophy, but my judicial career. And what I learned from them is that you must first see the humanity in everybody, regardless of what they're charged with, regardless of why they're before you, because we don't sit as judge, jury, and executioner, right? Some of us have that misapprehension, but that's not our job. Our job is to ensure that there is a level playing field and that the laws that apply to the matters that are before us are in fact applied. And so, number one, seeing the humanity in everyone. The other thing that they both taught me is that judges are community servants first. We serve at the pleasure of the folks that we serve. Some judges are appointed in other jurisdictions. Some are elected and appointed. In Fulton, even if you are appointed by the governor, you still must stand for election, which I think is a good thing, because there has to be, I believe, a sense of accountability that we all have when we sit in these seats. We are placeholders. These are not our seats forever. They are our seats as long as the citizens who elect us say so. And at the point they say no, then we have to find something else to do. But that extends beyond the court. And so being a community servant means that you're active in the community. You don't sit on the bench in a silo and not be connected to the community around you. Because when you're connected to the community around you, it better informs the decisions and the judgments that we're called upon to make every day. When young men come before me, I don't just see somebody else's child, I see my own. Because I know that but for the grace of God, it could be my son standing before a judge like me. And my prayer would be that that judge would see the humanity in my child and give him an opportunity. Just like Judge Miller said, we have to learn to distinguish the people that we are afraid of from the ones that we're angry with. Everybody doesn't need to go to jail and be locked up forever and the keys thrown away. And I know that's hard for a lot of citizens to understand, but that's not an effective way to manage crime in our communities. The kinds of things that Solicitor General Gammage is doing are the kinds of things that we must buy into. He is doing the kinds of restorative work that stops some of the criminal activity at the beginning. And so those were two of the lessons that were critically important to me. And the last is to be prepared, right? To study, to know the cases that are coming before you, to understand the law, and to be able to apply that law fairly and impartially. And that's an example of all of those things are things that I was able to witness day in and day out from both Justice Birch and Judge Moore.
Thank you so much. What about you, Judge Farmers?
When I was a baby public defender, the first judge I was assigned to in Fulton County was Judge Constance Russell. And she taught me to be ready. She also taught me to treat people fairly because she held both sides equally accountable. If the defense messed up, they got an earful. If the prosecutor messed up, they got an earful. And when you went for a trial calendar call and she asked for the announcements, there was only one announcement in Judge Russell's courtroom, and that was ready. You had to be ready in that courtroom. One of the smartest people I know, the bench misses her. She's phenomenal. She was my first judge when I went, that's one day when I get that job, I want to be like her. And also Roland Barnes. I had the pleasure of serving in front of Judge Barnes, and we just, the other day was the anniversary of his passing. He was an everyman, and he treated everyone as an everyman. You went before him, and he didn't prejudge or predispose. he did not judge books by their cover. He listened to what came before him, and he treated everybody equally and with respect. And I thought, again, that's the kind of law or judge that not only do I want to appear in front of as a lawyer, but as Judge Adams said, heaven forbid, one of my, I have 2 children myself. If one of my kids or myself is standing in front of a judge, that's the kind of judge I want to be in front of. Smart, fair, and respectful. So that, if you want 2, those were easy 2. I got to listen to everybody else, so I knew who my 2 were by the time y'all got to me. Judge Russell and Judge Barnes, for sure.
Thank you. And I remember, I didn't know Judge Barnes personally, but I will never forget the day that I saw the news with that judge. Matter of fact, we had just purchased some land down here to build a house in Atlanta. And I said, I don't think I want to go down there to Atlanta, but God is good. I want to go to Judge Dunaway now. And what was your 2 mentors in the judicial system?
I can't start without saying my father. I mean, without him, I wouldn't have gone to law school. He paid the $100 holding space at Mercer. So if I did, I wouldn't have gone to law school. I mean, being from Atlanta, being a judge was not something I thought of. I wanted to be mayor of Atlanta. I wanted to be like Ambassador Andrew Young, wanted to be like Maynard Jackson, who had graduated from Morehouse. Ambassador Young just celebrated 90 glorious years of service. And so those were the people as a child I looked up to coming through the Atlanta public school system. But once I got to practicing, not even when I was practicing law, I was at Mercer Law School. I was ready. Law school is difficult. It's tough. And so I was like, maybe this law school thing isn't for me. And then one day, Judge Yvette Miller showed up. Judge Miller, who's now in the Court of Appeals, she showed up in law school, talked to us, and particularly talked to me and said, young man, we need you. You have to put in the work, put in the effort. We need you and people like you in the legal system. So Judge Miller was the first judge that I ever knew and looked up to and she didn't just do it for me. She did it for every student, color, male, female, everyone at Mercer Law School looked up to Judge Miller. So judicial wise, Judge Miller was the first person that poured into me to let me know that I could be a lawyer, practice law, and hold my own. And then, getting to practice law, I know Judge Adams knows this, but I don't know if she realizes this. But her community service as a judge let me know that I didn't have to be mayor or senator to serve the community. Judge Adams was a judge, and we knew each other as trial partners in the DA's office. But when she got to the bench, she didn't stop serving to the community. She didn't stop singing in the choir. She didn't stop showing up at community events. So that showed me that you can be a judge and still give back to the community. So my 2 judicial influencers was Judge Yvette Miller of the Georgia Supreme Court and Judge Kimberly Adams of the Fulton County Superior. Georgia Court of Appeals and Judge Kimberly Adams of the Fulton County Superior Court.
Awesome. Solicitor, who's your mentors?
Thank you so much. I'm inspired also and re-inspired by hearing my colleagues. I'm touched also by the journey that they've shared. Like Judge Dunaway, it started in my home. My parents, who just poured all the love and values of goodness and decency and love and fear of God into my mind and spirit. I love them. I'm honored to still have them pushing me. And I might say picking me up too from time to time, right? Because we all fall and are all challenged, by the burdens that we have to bear. And then I think my grandparents, my maternal grandfather, Benny Shannon, who, out of South, was raised in South Georgia at a time when the cruelties of the American justice system and the American economic system mostly burdened people of color. And he always wanted to be a lawyer. And so as he taught me how to play both chess and checkers, he showed me how to survive, how to love people in spite of the way they might treat you, and how to soar. And so I think being a young public defender also as my first opportunity to serve as a lawyer, being in front of Judge Gail Tucson, who's now senior judge in Fulton County, and Judge Tucson for young lawyers was a great training ground because along with following the law, she was warm and respectful and created the kind of environment in her court that would allow you to, test the boundaries of the law, to try to practice law and represent either your client, the state, or the accused. But it was clear that she cared about the results. Awesome. And I remember with regard to Judge Tucson, we had a couple of very, very, almost overwhelming trial calendars. And at the end of that trial calendar, she called the public defender, the assistant district attorney, the whole courtroom team into her chambers. And she had lunch there for us, and she had a masseuse. And after this trying week, she was sending a message to us that, hey, you got to relax also. And I'm appreciative of it. And I just didn't always hear that. And quite honestly, we've got great colleagues here, but I still don't see that kind of, in general, with the exception of the folks here, that kind of warmth from colleagues. And I think lastly, Attorney Larry Dingle. Attorney Dingle never became a judge, but he certainly helped many judges across our state to become judges. And he taught me, in addition to what my parents did, my grandparents, taught me to be a statesman, taught me to give even more love to the community, taught me to be very intentional about my hiring decisions and about uplifting people at every chance that I can. Attorney Dingle unfortunately passed very recently, but I don't think, I think it's hard to practice law in Georgia and not have known Attorney Larry Dingle. So thank you.
Thank you. I'm finna ask, I got two questions that's very, you can answer those questions or you don't have to answer. Let's talk about the Supreme Court nominee. And I'm gonna start first with Judge Farmer. And since I can't see your faces, I'm gonna go straight down the line and give me 1 minute of what you think about having, for the first time, a Black woman on the Supreme Court.
Well, thanks for picking me first. I know my colleagues are appreciative of that. And as judges, we're kind of in a position where we're a little hamstrung on that. We are nonpartisan elected officials. And much like a judge who's going to go up for a nomination process in front of the Senate, they're going to say it's a case-by-case basis, and I can't tell you how I'm going to prejudge anything. I think the important thing for any judge, be it magistrate, juvenile, trial court, Court of Appeals, Supreme Court, at the local or federal level, is to be fair and listen to every case on its facts and on its merits. The situation of politics in America today, I'm just going to leave that where it is, Ms. Chatman.
Okay. Yep. I think I can't see. You can go next. Whoever's next to you, I can't see your faces right now. Who's next to you?
I don't mind jumping in because I'm excited. And I don't believe that I am prohibited from commenting on the historical significance of the nomination. It's been more than 250 years since the court was established, that is the United States Supreme Court. And it's been equally as long since a woman has served on that court, Black woman. There has never been a Black woman who served on that court. Thurgood Marshall, as we all know, was the first African-American to serve on the court, and that was 50 years ago. Sandra Day O'Connor was the first woman to serve on the United States Supreme Court, and that was many years ago. And so to be at a place in time where we actually are on the precipice of prayerfully having a full and fair confirmation hearing that will result in the confirmation of the first African-American woman to serve on the United States Supreme Court is extraordinary. She is a brilliant jurist. She has pedigree that Black women have to have, quite frankly, when we are considered for these kinds of roles. She's a double Harvard graduate. She has served as a public defender on the federal side. She worked in civil practice. She served on the United States Sentencing Commission. She served as a federal district court or trial judge. She served on the federal appellate bench. So the next logical step for Judge Jackson is the Supreme Court. In fact, I don't know another judge on the court currently who has served in the capacities in which she has served. So I am over the moon excited about the prospect that she is going to be confirmed. I see no reason why she should not be. I'm sure that she's in for a tough confirmation hearing, politics aside. But I think that she is up to the challenge of the vetting of her qualifications. This is a moment in time where our daughters, right, little Black girls, can look at the highest bench in the land where heretofore they had not seen anyone who looked like them, and be proud of the fact that she's been nominated. And be clear, she is an African-American woman. She's got skin my color, and she has natural hair. So there's no question, right, about who she is. And I'm excited about it. I'm so excited about it. I am looking forward. I think I'm in court, so I will be going back to watch the confirmation hearings. I know that the first 2 days are going to be tough, but I really do believe she's up to the challenge. And I will say, and this is not a political statement, but I applaud the President of the United States for recognizing that our courts have to reflect all of the constituents in this country for all of us to feel like we got a shot. It's no different than trial courts in cities and states around the country. So when you look at courts, when you walk in and what you see is someone who doesn't look like you start with, unfortunately, with generally the idea that you probably are not going to get a fair shot. And so I think creating a court that is reflective of all of the citizens of our country brings us closer to achieving the kind of justice that will go a long way towards ensuring that we have trust in our justice system, which is still, I think, the best system in the world. So I am excited about Judge Jackson. I will be watching with bated breath. I don't think you could find anyone who is more qualified. She's already been confirmed 3 times. This will be her 4th confirmation hearing. So I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you. The next down the.
Well, this is Judge Miller. I have daughters, and I am so excited. Last year for Women's History Month, my then 8-year-old dressed up as RBG, and because she has a mom who's a judge, obviously, and a lawyer before that, and has great respect for our system. But that's who she saw that she could relate to. And now she'll have somebody else. Hopefully she'll have somebody else. And that's very meaningful for me as a judge and as a mom. And I think Judge Esmond Adams said something that's so important. She has a well-rounded legal experience. And to be able to bring that type of diversity to the bench, not just her skin, but her practice and legal diversity, the different ways that she served, that will make for better discussions, right? That will make for a different perspective in those discussions. And I think that makes for a better system for everybody. And I think that's on whatever level of the court you are. The more diverse your experience and background, the more thoughtful you can be as a jurist. That's a benefit to everybody that comes before the court.
Thank you. Next down the line. I can't see your picture right now, so because questions, whoever's next to Judge Miller.
No, I'm unsure if I am next. This is Judge Kirk. I wanted us to stop at what Judge Esmond Adams said. She absolutely rang the bell, hit it out the park. I just want to raise my hand and say, absolutely. I am ecstatic that a judge of the caliber of Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson is even being nominated and considered. It is sad that a woman of her credentials is just now reaching this point, but I understand that there was a concerted effort to make it possible, and I am excited that she is now here and available for this. I just have to echo what Judges Miller and Esmond Adams have said. Excited. There we are. That's it. Looking
Thank you.
forward to her confirmation.
Thank you. Who's next? Judge Kirk.
I'll go. The great thing about one great thing about being an elected prosecutor is that my freedom of speech remains completely intact. I don't have the same kind of boundaries by law as my judicial colleagues. I would love to awaken one fine morning and see 9 African-American females, one as Chief Justice of the United States Supreme Court and the other 8 as Associate Justices. I would ask your audience and our panelists here to just consider that, because for so long, we've not ever considered the perspective of even one high-quality African-American female Supreme Court justice. So I say 9 with the hope that we'll push our imagination even further than what 1 would mean. I fully support Judge Brown Jackson. I'm grateful that the president would nominate her. I'm hopeful that she is confirmed. And then I hope to awaken on another day and see Asian Americans, more Latino Americans.
You must was thinking what I was thinking. I was just thinking that.
Let's make our Supreme Court look and think like our wonderful nation. And let's not leave anyone out and any perspective. And I think this, when I said that my grandfather and parents and our mentors taught us to soar without regard for obstacles, our perspective matters. My perspective is not just rooted in my race. It's rooted in my life experience. It's rooted in the things that shaped who I am. And so when folks say we should have diversity on the bench and the highest quality people on the bench of a diverse background, it's not just, or I would even go further. It's so much more substantive, who they are, so much more substantive than the color of their skin. And so I'm glad that our country will soon embrace Judge Brown Jackson.
Thank you. I think we got Judge Dunaway now.
Yes, thank you. This whole conversation takes me back to law school when someone said, well, there aren't any qualified Black lawyers out there. We don't have enough qualified Black lawyers to be prosecutors. We don't have enough. And so I think this brings us to the conversation of, yes, there are qualified African-American lawyers. There are qualified African-American females, and they are now getting the opportunity to serve. So I'm looking forward to the confirmation hearing so that Judge Jackson can show her qualifications, can let everyone know that there are qualified African-American females, qualified African-American lawyers out there to serve in these positions. Because I get frustrated when I think back on that time when they said we don't have enough qualified African-American lawyers to even interview anyone. And being told that I shouldn't be in school because I took someone's spot. And I said, I promise you, I'm just as qualified and did the work of the person I beat out for this spot. And so I love the talk of the qualifications. And then, being a girl dad, I have 2 daughters, and I tell them all the time, I'm trying to build Senator Dunaway, Governor Dunaway, President Dunaway, Chief Justice Dunaway. And I was telling my daughters last night, I would love for my oldest to be president and my youngest to be chief justice, and tell her, Becca, you can't do that. So that this is, it kind of now is laying out a roadmap for a girl dad to say, hey, you can do it, but you better be qualified.
Yes. I'm back at my full screen. Judge Miller, did you answer that question? You did? Okay, thank you. I think I got everybody. I'm back at the full screen. I'm going to take a question that came across, but I'm going to ask you guys another question that might be a little controversial. Okay, are there any programs available? I'm going to go to Judge Miller. Are there any programs available for juveniles/youth committing crimes, or those that haven't committed crimes? I'm gonna start with you first, Judge Miller.
You said who have not committed crimes?
Yes, that's what it says, or those that haven't committed a crime.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There are so many wonderful programs. We have the At Some Promise Center. There are several of those around Metro Atlanta. We have our Boys and Girls Clubs, our YMCAs. They all offer services to young people in the community to help them, whether it's with educational resources, if they don't necessarily want to finish high school and get their GED. I know both the YMCA and the At Promise Center have programs for that. They also have career readiness programming, so you can get training in different trades and job skills. So absolutely reach out to those, and they're throughout our community. So there are YMCAs all over the place. There are 3 At Promise Centers throughout Metro Atlanta. So there are plenty of opportunities for young folks who want some other options and who are not involved in our justice system.
And that goes for the teens, especially the teens.
Mm-hmm.
Got
And I mean, we've talked about it. The more resources that young people have, the less trouble they're in. And all of those organizations have business partners who are offering actual jobs for young folks. So I would encourage, if there are parents out there, or young people out there who are interested in some of those opportunities, to check in. And if you can't find anything, the juvenile court is a resource. Come in and let us know what you're looking for before there is a need, right? Come and let us know, because we have other resources. If you can't find anything that maybe we can help and get you connected with, and you don't have to be a part of the system to come and ask us for help.
Thank you. What I'm gonna do, I'm going to get this same panel back later on, but what I want to do is I want to say, and I heard all of you guys talk about community. Let's think about doing a mentor program, especially in the South Fulton area. And I live in this great city of South Fulton. Let's get a mentor program for this area, just dealing with the court system, and give our kids the education. And I often say we have a lot of people that live in the city of South Fulton. They go to Atlanta to mentor when we can mentor right in our own city. I want you guys to think about that. But this is another controversial, and I'm gonna start with Keith Gammage on this one, the solicitor. How do you feel about that gun law that just passed? You don't need a permit. How do you feel about that?
I'm a gun owner, and I am, one who believes in the Second Amendment. I don't want to be inside of my home and unable to defend myself with the force that an aggressor might be able to use offensively against my family or I. But also, we should be sensible. And so my commentary on it is that for a long time, every 5 years, I think it was, would go to the probate court, and I would renew my permit to conceal carry a firearm and make myself available for the appropriate background checks and scrutiny. And though, my role is to carry out the law as passed by the legislature, in this forum, I'm comfortable commenting on it. I think that our crime in America is so out of control. Communities are crying out. Children, our seniors, everyone across our nation, in all areas in our nation, are concerned about public safety. And that is especially the case in Metro Atlanta and across the great state of Georgia. So to cause us to have less regulation on the ability for those who are suffering from mental illness to purchase and carry a firearm. Let me rephrase that. I shouldn't say to purchase, because those stops still are currently in place. The thought that we have less regulation, in my view, of those who can carry a weapon concealed, it's my personal opinion that that's the wrong direction. We should continue the Second Amendment with proper regulation and proper scrutiny before you allow someone to purchase, same-day purchase, or carry a concealed weapon for public safety reasons. And I believe the laws that protect us presently, I don't believe the governor has yet signed that proposed legislation, unless my timeline is off. I don't think he signed it yet.
I don't think. Thank you. What I'm gonna do, I'm not gonna put my judges in a hot seat since we got 10 minutes. I'm gonna ask you guys, we got to come back, because I got a list of questions actually, and we can be here all day. But what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go on it and just let you handle that question, solicitor, because I don't want my judges to be held for that question. So what I'm gonna do now is go down to your closing, a couple seconds. You got 1 minute to do your closing, and I'm going to start with Judge Adams.
Well, thank you, Ms. Chatman, for the opportunity to participate in this talk. I somehow missed the initial email, and so I wasn't sure how I even ended up on your list, but I'm glad that I did, because I always relish the opportunity to be able to talk to citizens about the work that we do. Sometimes courts are shrouded in mystery. There are two things that I would leave. First, understand that when you see things on the news, you rarely are seeing the full story. And we undertake as judges every day to carry out the duties of our office in a way that honors the trust that the citizens have placed in us. This is not an easy job to do. And so from issues relating to bond to issues relating to sentencing and all of the civil matters that are in between, don't always buy into what you see on television. That's number one. The second thing that I'd like to do is to encourage citizens to understand that our system only works when we are all engaged. And so when you receive a summons to serve on a jury, we need you to show up, right? We don't want to have to send the sheriff out to get you. I was responsible for a program that the court had many years back where we actually had to institute a failure to appear program because we had so many citizens who were confusing the jury summonses that they receive for invitations. Show up if you want to, when you want to, and that's not what a jury summons is. But when we criticize verdicts and on the same hand, abrogate our responsibility to honor summonses to come in and serve, or at least be considered to serve as jurors. From my perspective, you really don't have anything to say. So we have to be invested in our system, and we have to recognize that our opportunity to be involved is by serving on juries. Juries can't reflect our communities if we don't show up. So I just wanted to make that point. And I think citizens will find that if they serve on juries, they will learn things that they never knew. They will have and leave with a much deeper appreciation for the kind of work that happens in the Fulton County Courthouse and in courthouses around the country. All of the lawyers that you see, judges and Mr. Gammage, we've all worked as trial lawyers. We've all been before juries. And so we know how important that is. And so I would just emphasize to the citizens that we need you to serve.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Judge Dunaway.
I told you she was my mentor. And then what I wanted to say was thank you for having me. And I want to let the citizens know the doors to the courthouse are open. Please come in and watch what's happening in court. Don't just let someone else tell you about what's happening. The doors to the courthouse are open. The lights are on, we're running court. If you get a jury summons, please come. It's not, as Judge Adams says, it's not an invitation, but I say please. Please come to jury duty. We do need you to serve. And a lot of times when jurors show up, the case is resolved. And so it's just being in the building that causes the system to move more efficiently. So please come. The doors to the courthouse open. We would love to see you. The lights are on in courtroom 4F. And the other thing is know who your judges are, know who your solicitor and DA and sheriff and all the justice partners are, because we all stand for election. And so we get to hear from you. Serve on jury. Please vote. And the doors to the courthouse open. Thank you for having me, and I really enjoyed the conversation.
Thank you. Judge Miller?
Well, I'll leave folks with this. The juvenile court has resources, and we don't want to work in a silo. We want to be partners with the community to make sure that our communities are safe. And that starts with all of us getting involved as best we can. And one of those ways is knowing what the resources are, knowing what job skills and job training courses there are. And the juvenile court can help with that. So please don't come only in crisis. We're here to serve you in a crisis as well, but don't come only in crisis. Let us be a partner and help you get to resolutions that are good for you and your children and your families before there is a crisis. And thank you. Thank you all for having me and the opportunity to be here with these wonderful folks. Some people that I really admire are here, and I love to just be able to hear their thoughts and feel their energy. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. Judge Kirk?
As everyone has already said, thank you very much for having me, Mrs. Chapman. It's an honor to be here, and particularly with these colleagues. Thank you. For the magistrate court, I want to encourage people. This is the people's court. We really want to bridge the gap between our court, our processes, and how the community is able to see that. I will tell you that we have resources. We have brochures, we have pamphlets, we have videos. Please use our website, magistratefolton.org. I will also tell you that rental assistance is still available for those individuals that need it. Please use that resource, rental assistance. There is another arm that is coming that is going to be for actual homeowners for their mortgages. So that is also coming. Please be aware and look for that. The other thing I want to leave you with is that our REACH clinic, which is our Rapid Education Assistance Court Help Clinic, is for those individuals that need help with their small claims, again, less than $15,000, warrant application, as well as garnishment matters. Those, again, go to our website. That will help all of you figure out some resources for our court. And again, thank you for having me.
Thank you. Judge Farmer?
Well, thank you, Ms. Chapman. I think I first got the chance to meet you 4 years ago when I ran for the first time. And I do want to thank you for having all of us, because I do think the court needs to be transparent and available to the public. You know, I've had some opportunities to go speak down in College Park regarding grandparents' right, because I'm on the family court right now. And fortunately for the family court, 99% of what we do doesn't require jurors. We have a lot of bench trials, whereas Judge Adams and Judge Dunaway, they do have to, especially in criminal cases, they get juries. And it's not an invitation, but part of what we've learned through these courses, Fulton County is starting to do virtual jury selection, especially in civil cases. That doesn't require folks to come down. They just have to be available on their screen like we are now. And they come in panels of 12, and they get questioned. And then if they're selected, they get a text, an email, and a phone call saying, well, now you have to come down to the courthouse and sit for the jury trial. But they don't necessarily, and I'm not going to say waste a day, but it doesn't take an entire day of their time coming downtown to go through the jury selection process. We are trying to make it as painless as possible, but ultimately the system does not work without jurors. And so, like Judge Dunaway said, please come down. Otherwise, Judge Adams is going to have to reinstitute her program, and nobody wants to see that. But thank you for having me. I'm always happy to be available, and thank you to your viewers.
Good. Thank you guys for coming. I'm going to put you back on the calendar before the end of the year to come back, because I want to dig into that the court system. Again, I want to thank you guys for coming. I know some is running for office right now. Judge Farmer, I met you years ago. Thank you. Thank you for taking my calls when I call you. Again, even Judge Kirk, thank you. And so we look forward to seeing what's coming next for you guys. Again, thank you for being part of Take a Stand show. Have a good day. And thank you.
Thank you.